This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
3 furlongs to go. Cigar! Cigar makes his move, and he sweeps to the lead with a dramatic rush with 3 furlongs to go. And Jerry Bailey turns him loose, and he guides him down to the rail as the field turns for home. Unaccounted for down inside, a quarter of a mile between Cigar and a perfect season. Coming down to the last furlong with a 2.5 length lead, and Jerry Bailey calls on Cigar for everything he has. The carrier is awakening second on the inside, unaccounted for. On the outside, solo the matter, and here he is, the unconquerable, invincible, unbeatable Cigar!
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. I'm Mark Asano. On this morning's show, the passing of a legend. We will have a major stakes review with an eye toward the Breeders' Cup, and we will welcome in 2 very special guests from Southern California, Mr. Phil D'Amato, who's got a couple of speedy grass runners pointing for the Breeders' Cup, and here in studio, Dr. Jim McGlinn, the head of Bloodlines Racing. Red hot Bloodlines Racing. So all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our October 11th edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com, and by Bloodlines Racing, racing quality horses like Invading Humor and Distorted Beauty. Visit them on the web at bloodlinesracing.com. Good morning once again on a rather chilly October Saturday. Big show in front of us. We're going to have some fun looking back at a number of stakes races, as I mentioned, all with an eye towards the Breeders' Cup. But the major story this past week, the great Cigar, who won 16 consecutive races during an amazing career, has died. Cigar was 24. A pretty good horse on turf early in his career, Cigar became a legend when switched to dirt, going on to become a 2-time Horse of the Year. Trained here in the East by Billy Mott, Cigar went unbeaten from October of 1994 until August of 1996, when Darren Go beat him in the Pacific Classic. Cigar, who was owned by the late Alan Paulson, was elected to Racing's Hall of Fame in 2002, in his first year of eligibility. Cigar had resided at the Kentucky Horse Park for the past 15 years, so a major part of the modern racing era is gone. Cigar dead at the age of 24. Last Sunday in Paris, the Arc de Triomphe and the remarkable Trev in the gray silks and the burgundy cap, en route to winning her 2nd straight Arc. Trev entered this year's Arc as a long shot because she hadn't won a race since winning in Paris a year earlier. But trainer Cricket Head had her filly ready again on the big day, and Trev became only the 7th horse in history to become a dual Arc winner. Now, after announcing her retirement, Trev's connections have decided to run her again next year, and that is absolutely wonderful news in an attempt to win a 3rd Arc. That is absolutely great news. The only better news would be if they would ever consider coming to the States to run her in the Breeders' Cup turf. My Conquistadore, who was an outstanding 2-year-old filly of 2013, has been retired. An impressive winner on turf at Woodbine, and an equally impressive winner of the Grade 1 Alcibiades on synthetic. My Conquistadore didn't carry that form to her 3-year-old season, with early season injuries this year having compromised her form. And possible good news for Rajiv Marat. According to the jockey, his doctors have told him that he may be able to return to ride by October 24th. You know, that's pretty amazing since he just suffered a broken arm in the September 27th Jockey Club Gold Cup. If Marat's doctors are right, he could be back for the Breeders' Cup. And Constitution, the unbeaten lightly raced colt who we last saw capturing the Florida Derby, is entered in tomorrow's 8th race at Belmont. Constitution will face a non-winners 4 lifetime allowance group, including 80,000 claimers, going a mile and a 16th, and it will be nice to have him back. And finally, European Star Australia, who his trainer Aidan O'Brien called the finest horse he's ever trained, has been retired. Australia, a dual Derby winner, won 5 of 8 starts. And we are up to our first break. When we return, our stakes recap in earnest. As we go to the break, the Thoroughbred Club of America at Keeneland, a prep for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and the 11-10 favorite number 5 Stone-tastic, who ran great in the Prioress here at Saratoga last. So we'll take a look at the Thoroughbred Club of America to the break. Back with our stakes recap right after these messages.
And they're off. Janice's Joy was quick into stride on the far outside, but Stone-tastic a step quicker now, along with Our Free Roll. And Stone-tastic and Our Free Roll hook up early on the front end, and Our Free Roll moves through down toward the rail and has the early lead by a half length. Stone-tastic goes second just to the outside. A gap of 3 more lengths then. Back to Janice's Joy, and Southern Honey joined by Lee Court. Moves up the inside from 5th to 4th to challenge for 3rd. Speeding through the city, his last 21 and 4/5 seconds for the opening quarter. And around the far turn, Our Free Roll to the inside, Stone-tastic to the outside. The lead battle there separated by just a neck, and Lee Court changing lanes, moving from left to right toward the center of the racetrack to join the top 2. Less than 1 length off the lead, quarter mile to come. Stone-tastic between horses, Lee Court on the outside, Southern Honey to their outside. Our Free Roll backs up down toward the rail to 3rd. Coming to the 8th pole, Lee Court puts ahead in front, and Stone-tastic put to a drive. She's got to find more and find it quickly. Lee Court has the lead. Stone-tastic fighting on, but second toward the inside. Southern Honey is 3rd. 16th pole, Lee Court says this one is over. Lee Court, Gary Boulanger to take the Thoroughbred Club of America. Southern Honey up for 2nd, and then Stone-tastic and speeding through the city.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Looking for a racing partnership with proven success? Bloodlines Racing is for you. Using genetic profiling, Bloodlines horses are bred from some of the most successful thoroughbreds in the world. Horses like Distorted Beauty and Invading Humor have won 6 of their last 7 races over the summer, and together have delivered to our partners more than $366,000 in earnings. For our latest offerings and opportunities, visit us at bloodlinesracing.com. Bloodlines Racing. Racing quality.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano, and Lee Court for Josie Carroll and Gary Boulanger rallies from off the pace to defeat Southern Honey and Stone-tastic by 3 in the TCA. Very good chance that the first 3 finishers out of that race go to the Filly and Mare Sprint, which I think could be one of, if not the deepest race on the Breeders' Cup card. All right. Going to begin our stakes recap with the Shadwell Turf Mile. Number 6, Wise Dan, coming off that very exciting comeback win in the Bernard Baruch at Saratoga, was the 90-cent to the dollar favorite. Number 8, Seek Again, who had overcome traffic trouble to win the 4-star Dave at Saratoga, was the 5-2 second choice. Turf was labeled good. All starters carried 126, which was a great benefit to Wise Dan. And pay close attention to the start. Focus in on number 6, Wise Dan. as we take a look and listen to the call of the Shadwell Turf Mile with Kurt Becker.
They're at the post. And they're off in the $1 million Shadwell Turf Mile. Wise Dan breaks last, and Silver Max goes right out for the early lead. Silver Max quickly to the front in the opening strides as per usual. Opens up by 2.5 lengths at the entry to the first turn. And Syed will go second as they move around the turn with Grand Arch in third. Optimizer fourth toward the inside. Long Shot 2 Notch Road in fifth on the outside. Wise Dan has picked up 2 positions in the opening quarter mile. Moves up from last now into the 6th spot down toward the rail, just over 5 lengths from the front. Kigan behind him and Seek again the trailer. The opening quarter in 24 2/5 seconds. Silver Max the leader by a length and a half up the backstretch. Syed now just off the leader's flank in second, 3/4 of a length. Grand Arch third up on the outside. Optimizer tucked away fourth against the rail. 2 Notch Road in the clear in fifth. Wise Dan is sixth in between horses, still 4.5 lengths from the leader. Gap of 2 to Kigan next to last, and Seek again content to trail through an opening half mile in 48 1/5 seconds. And Silver Max the leader into the final turn, leads it by a length and a half. Syed is second, 3/4 of a length with Grand Arch to the outside third. Optimizer fourth. 2 Notch Road is fifth, and now Wise Dan looks for running room, but he's still sixth between horses. 6 lengths off the lead, a quarter mile to come, and they've all got to catch Silver Max, who's chased by Syed. Then Grand Arch. Wise Dan comes down the outside. The leader coming to the 8th pole. Here's Syed alongside of Silver Max. Grand Arch. Seek again diving to the rail. Kigan coming late. Wise Dan far outside. Wise Dan coming after Syed and Grand Arch. Wise Dan gets his head in front. The first $1 million race in Keeneland history, the Shadwell Turf Mile, to Wise Dan with a breathtaking stretch rally.
The beat goes on for the amazing Wise Dan. Despite having his head turned sideways at the break and racing a bit anxiously while in traffic, the 2-time reigning horse of the year did it again, winning his 14th consecutive turf race with a 1-length score over number 3 Grand Arch, with number 1 Sayad third. Seek again the second choice, just like in the 4-star Dave, found traffic in the lane. But unlike the Spa Stakes, never found room here in finishing a disappointing 6th. 135.62 over a turf labeled good. Final half 47.35. Last quarter 23.60. While Wise Dan hasn't been nearly as dominant this year as in the past, as far as margin of victories, I think he's getting a bit better with each start. And unless he draws very poorly or gets a brutal trip in the Breeders' Cup Mile, he will be awfully tough to beat. He is an exceptional racehorse and a great turf miler. Next up, last Sunday at Keeneland, the Spinster and the overwhelming 1-5 favorite number 2 Close Hatches, coming off her most powerful victory of the year in the Personal Ensign at Saratoga. The only thing about that race was it was over a very wet racetrack. So the question was, could she replicate that powerful performance over a normal dry racetrack? For the call of the Spinster, here's Kurt Becker.
They're at the post. And they're off in the Juddmonte Spinster. Close Hatches is first away. Rhea Antonia comes away in second. Then Sharuk with Molly Morgan on her outside. Got Lucky next to last in the opening strides. Quickly settles over against the rail. And Don't Tell Sophia is the early trailer, 6 lengths off the lead. The heavy favorite, Close Hatches, has the advantage. Clears with the lead by a length and a half moving into the first turn. Rhea Antonia now moves up a closer second just off her flank. She's going to press the issue here as they move off the first turn. Stay right with the leader. Gap of 2 more lengths back to Sharuk. Another 2 back to Got Lucky. Molly Morgan on her outside. And a margin of nearly 5 more back to Don't Tell Sophia. The opening quarter went in 24 seconds. Up the backstretch in the Juddmonte Spinster, and Close Hatches the leader. Against the rail, leading it by 3/4 of a length. Rhea Antonia second by 2 lengths. Sharuk travels along in third. Then a gap of 3 more lengths back to Molly Morgan, fourth outward from the rail, fourth by a half length to Got Lucky, and 5 more lengths back of that pair to Don't Tell Sophia. The first half mile in 47 2/5 seconds. And here comes Rhea Antonia again, drawing alongside of Close Hatches. They're the top 2 into the far turn. They begin matching strides. 2 lengths in front of Sharuk. Sharuk in third. 3 more back to Molly Morgan. 3 back of that one to Got Lucky. And Don't Tell Sophia last. Rhea Antonia puts ahead in front, but Close Hatches is still right there toward the inside. These two off the far turn together, and then 3 more lengths back to Sharuk. Rhea Antonia from the outside has the lead. Close Hatches is still there, but needs to find more, and here comes Don't Tell Sophia with a big rally on the outside. Don't Tell Sophia had lost contact with the field on the backstretch, and she has taken the lead in the final furlong of the Juddmonte Spinster. Close Hatches backs up to 4th. Don't Tell Sophia and Joe Rocco Jr. to take it.
Don't Tell Sophia circles the field from last to win off by 2.5 lengths as Close Hatches turns in a dreadful effort, finishing 4th, beaten 7 1/4. Rhea Antonia, the filly who prompted the pace of Close Hatches, ran the best she's run in quite a while, finishing 2nd. But I have absolutely no explanation for the horrid effort of Close Hatches, who was previously unbeaten this year. Great win for trainer Philip Sims and Joe Rocco Jr. If Sims can keep Don't Tell Sophia healthy and happy, she would become his first ever Breeders' Cup starter. Our director, Pat Peretta, asked me a real good question yesterday. Is it possible that Bill Mott ran a bit of a short horse in Close Hatches trying to get her ready for the Breeders' Cup Distaff down the road? You might remember he tried that last year with Royal Delta. It did not work out at all. Royal Delta in the Belle Dame and then the Breeders' Cup Distaff. You know, this was the Spinster sponsored by Juddmonte. Close Hatches is owned by Juddmonte. I think they wanted to win this race quite badly, and that was an inexplicably awful performance, leaving Beholder as the favorite for the Breeders' Cup Distaff off a somewhat questionable return herself. All right, 2-year-olds up next. We'll begin with the Frizette. What did you think of the Frizette field going in? You know, they're all lightly raced, all 2-year-olds are, but I thought it was a pretty solid field. Condo Commando, number 6, was the 90-cent to the dollar favorite, the romping winner of the Spinaway. Cavorting, number 1, was the 2-to-1 second choice. She had won the Adirondack. Add Wonder Gal, Feathered, and By the Light. I really thought this was a pretty solid field. So for the call of the Frizette, here's John Imbrial.
And they're off. From the outside, it's By the Moon out for the early lead. Condo Commando and Feathered, and now Cavorting moves up from the rail. It's By the Moon with a narrow lead over Cavorting. Now the two of them hook up. Cavorting goes on with it to take the lead from By the Moon. A length and a half. Condo Commando's on the outside of Feathered. Then it's Wonder Gal who's racing in 5th. Ring Knocker is 6th, and it's 3 lengths. Back to Long Shot, Cayman Croc, who trails in 7th, the quarter, 22 3/5 seconds, and Cavorting shows the way here. It's Cavorting in front by a length over By the Moon. Condo Commando raiding today on the outside in 3rd, about 3 lengths from the front. Feathers in between horses. Wonder Gal is down at the rail. Then Cayman Croc and Ring Knocker. As they race around the far turn, Cavorting holding on to the lead, ran a half in 46 seconds. On the outside is By the Moon, who's now right alongside of Cavorting. And now By the Moon has taken the lead from Cavorting. Condo Commando is being asked for more, but 3 lengths behind By the Moon, who will lead the field to the top of the stretch in the Frizette. By the Moon in front, Condo Commando on the outside, and Cavorting down at the rail. 3/4 in 1, 11 2, and By the Moon has the lead over Condo Commando, and now there's a furlong to the finish. It's By the Moon still in front. Condo Commando's drifting out. Feathered's coming on through, along with Wonder Gal, a 16th to the finish. By the Moon trying to pull off the upset here. By the Moon turns the tables on Condo Commando and wins the Frizette.
By the Moon, Michelle Nevin's first Grade 1 win. Jose Ortiz broke very sharply and handled this sealed sloppy track much better than the one she caught in the Spinaway at Saratoga, and went on to a 2 1/4 length upset over Wonder Gal and Feathered. Condo Commando, who bobbled shortly after the break and who appeared to be spinning her wheels, finished 4th. while cavorting was last. Now, the reason I asked you what kind of field you thought this was going into the race is because after the race, due only to the slow final time, this group is being berated, and I think that's a mistake. 139.42 was 2.80 seconds slower than the boys in the Champagne, and the final quarter mile of 27.94 was obviously nothing to write home about. But I still think this group was solid. This race got such a low speed figure that if you like anybody, including the winner, coming out of the Frisette for the juvenile fillies, you will get a very good price. Speaking of prices, I can't believe By the Moon was 24-1. She was even a longer price than that nice maiden ring knocker. All right, speaking of the Champagne, for a group of such lightly raced horses, I thought this was a fascinating race. 17-10 favorite, number 6 Daredevil, an impressive debut winner over a wet track in last. 5-2 second choice, number 1 El Kabir, an impressive Saratoga maiden winner, but burdened with the inside post. For the call of the Champagne, here's John Imbriel.
And the rough. Holy Boss. And on the outside, Daredevil. Holy Boss has the early lead with Daredevil racing in second, and I Spent It next and third. El Kabir moving up from fourth. Then it's Upstart in fifth. The Truth or Else is the trailer in sixth as they head up the backstretch. Holy Boss challenged by El Kabir. On the outside is Daredevil. I Spent It down at the rail. Then a break of almost 4 lengths back to Upstart in fifth. And it's another 4 to the Truth or Else, who trails the opening quarter. 22 4/5 seconds. Holy Boss holding on to the lead here. Daredevil and I Spent It right together, second and third. The gray El Kabir is fourth. Upstart is on the move. The New York bred is 4 lengths from front-running Holy Boss, who ran the half in 46 1/5 seconds. They're midway around the far turn. Holy Boss challenged here by Daredevil, and the two of them are right together. Upstart now moves to third. El Kabir's under the whip down on the inside in fourth. I Spent It has dropped out of it, and the Truth or Else, and they're coming for the top of the stretch, and here's Daredevil to take the lead from Holy Boss. Upstart's on the outside, 3/4 in 1, 11-1. It's Daredevil in front by 3. Upstart giving chase in second as they pass the 8th pole. It's Daredevil with a 4-length lead. And Daredevil with a sparkling performance here in the Champagne. He's 2 for 2 in his young career. Daredevil wins it by 3.
Daredevil for Todd and Javier, never an anxious moment in capturing the Champagne by 2.5 over Upstart, who I thought ran quite well over this track with his running style. But Daredevil now 2 for 2 in his young career, with both victories coming over very wet racetracks. Interestingly, he will go to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, likely, as either the co-favorite or the second choice to American Pharoah, without ever having competed on a normal, dry racetrack. But this son of More Than Ready is very talented and has won both of his starts with relative ease. While Upstart suffered his first career loss, the New York bred ran big, and I hope Rick Viola decides to send him to the Breeders' Cup, because I think he can be a major factor. We spoke to Rick a little while ago on the phone. He said Upstart came out of the race very, very well. They are 90% certain at this point to run him in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. 136.62, as I mentioned, 2.80 seconds faster than the fillies in the Frisette. But the racetrack could have changed in that hour between the two races. 3rd Champagne in a row for Mr. Pletcher, and I believe 6 out of the last 11. Breeders' Futurity back to Keeneland. 2-1 favorite, number 5 Carpe Diem, who had run exactly once in a 5.5 furlong maiden race. For the call of the Breeders' Futurity, here's Kurt Becker.
They're at the post. And they're off in the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity. Tough Customer and Mr. Z both have early speed. Conquest Tsunami kicks in toward the outside. Carpe Diem comes away running in the 4th position. Decabris will go 5th as they move down to the first turn. Tough Customer against the rail has a narrow lead, but Conquest Tsunami moves up on the far outside. And Mr. Z pressing the issue now, going to 2nd. Conquest Tsunami outside of him to the lead. Carpe Diem moves up to challenge for 3rd, just outside of Tough Customer in 4th. A gap of 3 more lengths to Fire Spike in 5th. WV Jet Setter 6th on the outside. Around Decabris in 7th. Bold Conquest moves up the rail from 8th. Charm is 9th. Hashtag Bourbon and a lot of traffic in 10th between horses near the back of the pack, with Ike Walker in 11th and Keen Ice 12th and last. 23 and 2/5 seconds for the opening quarter, and Conquest Tsunami leading Carpe Diem by 3 parts of a length midpoint of the back stretch. Tough Customer in the clear 3rd, but 2 lengths off the lead. Then WV Jet Setter to the outside. Mr. Z back toward the inside 5th, followed by Charm in 6th position now. Fire Spike is 7th. Bold Conquest between horses 8th is 8 lengths off the lead. Hashtag Bourbon still mired in traffic near the back of the pack. 48 seconds for the first half mile, and up front Carpe Diem is challenging Conquest Tsunami, and Carpe Diem has a head in front. Conquest Tsunami 2nd at the quarter pole, gap of 5 more lengths. Mr. Z being ridden along to 3rd, down toward the inside, but 6 lengths off the lead into the short stretch. Final furlong of the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity, and Carpe Diem has the advantage. Opens up with every stride here, a widening 5-length margin. Conquest Tsunami 2nd, Mr. Z is 3rd, and Carpe Diem has seized the day at Keeneland. He just continues to draw clear. What an impressive 2-year-old Keeneland sales grad, Carpe Diem, to take it convincingly.
They asked a lot of Carpe Diem, and he answered in spades as he dominated the Breeders' Futurity by an expanding 6 1/4 lengths over Mr. Z and Bold Conquest. From a 5.5 furlong maiden race on closing day at Saratoga to this Grade 1 for this son of Giants Causeway, who is trained by Todd Pletcher. Not the most talented field he beat, but he did it authoritatively and stretching out from 5.5 to 8.5 furlongs. 143.38 with a final 2.5 furlongs and a respectable 31.22. This colt could be the 3rd choice in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile behind American Pharaoh and Daredevil. And interestingly, they all possess early speed. And what do you think the chances are that the 2 Pletcher runners, Daredevil and Carpe Diem, are going to leave American Pharaoh alone in front? Big day for Mr. Pletcher with the 2-year-olds winning the Champagne and Breeders' Futurity. Finally in this segment, the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. This is a race which I think is going to play a major part on Breeders' Cup Day. 4-5 favorite, number 3, Golden Sense. 6-5 second choice, number 1, Secret Circle. First race for Secret Circle since February 2nd. And his trainer, Bob Baffert, told everybody this was a prep. For the call of the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, here's Trevor Denman.
And away they go to a perfect start. All lining up for the lead early on here, and Kenny Hill on the far side, Indexical in the white blinkers, and Rich Tapestries right there between them. At the rails, Secret Circle, 4 of them in a line, and Golden Sense right on the heels in 5th. They run to the half-mile pole, and Kenny Hill on the far side, Indexical between them. Rich Tapestry, 1 from the rail, and at the rail, Secret Circle. There goes Golden Sense, now has to go 4 wide, but Golden Sense now moves up to make it 4 in a line with 3/8 to go. Secret Circle down at the rail. Between horses, Indexical and Kenny Hill in the black cap. On the far side, Golden Sense going to have to go furthest of all, but 4 of them in a line, and Rich Tapestry now waiting for room. Any one of the 5 could win at top of the lane, and Golden Sense strikes the front. Rich Tapestry is now pulled to the outside. Golden Sense got first run and kicked away, but Rich Tapestry's finishing gamely along the inside. It's Golden Sense and Rich Tapestry running for the wire together. Rich Tapestry's catching him. Golden Sense, Rich Tapestry, and nose bob.
Rich Tapestry, in his first ever start on a dry dirt track, is eased back off an early pace battle, bides his time, launches a run turning for home, and outgames Golden Sense by a nose. Secret Circle weakened to 3rd. An invader from Hong Kong, Rich Tapestry, who was second in the Dubai Golden Shaheen at 6 furlongs on the synthetic back in March, took to the new St. Anita Strip very nicely to win in his first race since late April. He will go on to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. In defeat, Golden Sense ran very well, was very game, rallying 4 wide around the far turn before getting nailed late. He will now stretch out to defend his title in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. As far as Secret Circle, the defending Breeders' Cup Sprint winner, I thought his race might have been an ideal prep. Inside under pressure throughout, Martin Garcia appeared to get enough out of the race for Secret Circle without overdoing it. Now, I'm not the biggest Bob Baffert fan on earth, but when one of his horses is using a stakes race as a prep, he comes out and tells people in advance, and that's exactly what he used the Santa Anita Sprint Championship for Secret Circle. And we are up to our next break. When we return, Mr. Phil D'Amato will join us as we go to the break, the Woodford Stakes, 5.5 furlongs on the Keeneland turf, but being used as a prep for the Breeders' Cup Sprint for the favorite, No Nay Never, number 9. So we'll take a look at the Woodford to the break. Back with Phil D'Amato right after these messages.
They're at the post. And they're off. Mongo Bull out for the lead. Spring to the Sky has speed up on the far outside. Choctaw Chuck moves up now to press the issue. Here's No Nay Never just outside of Console. Sharp Sensation moves up from 5th into 4th. Console drops back into the 5th position. Marchman 6th on the outside of that one. Mongo Bull, who broke well, drops back now into the 7th position near the back of the pack into the far turn. Followed by Positive Side in 8th. No Distinction 9th. Tell All You Know is 10th. 21 and 2/5 seconds the time for the opening quarter. Spring to the Sky and No Nay Never side by side. Around the far turn, contesting the lead. Sharp Sensation is 3rd toward the far outside, a length and a half from the front. Gap of 3 to Choctaw Chuck in 4th, quarter mile to come. Marchman has to swing wide in 5th, 6 lengths from the lead. No Nay Never the leader into the final furlong, and still Spring to the Sky 2nd. Sharp Sensation is 3rd. No Nay Never, 7-month layoff, trying to reach the wire, has the lead by 3. Sharp Sensation 2nd. Mongo Bull is running late on the far outside. No Nay Never, Sharp Sensation. Mongo Bull is coming on. No Nay Never. Yes! Hanging on. A triumphant return for No Nay Never with jockey Mike Smith.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
The big day is here. You've told everybody. You've dressed the part. Your heart is pounding in your chest. Your horse is rolling down the stretch. He's coming. He's closing. He's the winner. You're a winner with Parting Glass Racing. PartingGlassRacing.com. PartingGlassRacing.wow.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Face it, most horse racing websites are just too much clutter, too much to navigate through. Next time, log on to CapitalOTB.com. Our newly designed website is easier than ever to use, with all the information the professional horse player needs. CapitalOTB.com.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Cassano, and No Nay Never for Wesley Ward and Mike Smith in his first start since March 1st. Gamely prevails by a half length to capture the Woodford Stakes on grass, but he will go next in the Breeders' Cup Sprint on dirt. Our first guest this morning is a first-timer to the program, and he will have a number of starters all on grass in the upcoming Breeders' Cup. we welcome in live via telephone from Southern California, Mr. Phil D'Amato. Phil Marcasano welcoming you to the show.
Good morning, Mark. How you doing?
Nice to have you, Phil. Now, as a first-timer to the program, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Real briefly, I got the horse racing bug from my parents. They owned horses when I was younger, and I used to come to the track a bunch with them. Ended up, that's kind of what I wanted to do. I knew it, and I went through the University of Arizona racetrack program and got my degree there. Kind of the same school as the great Todd Pletcher and Bob Baffert. So, hoping to walk in their footsteps someday. But and I made it to the racetrack, and about 15, 16 years later, here I am.
And you're a longtime assistant to Mike Mitchell?
Yeah, I worked for Mike for about 10 years, probably around 10 years. Prior to that, I worked back east a bunch mainly for a trainer named Chuck Simon, who I think he's training at Philly Park right now, but it's another disciple of Alan Jerkins.
Well, Phil, let's talk, obviously, for the Breeders' Cup Mile. Right after he won the Shoemaker back in the summer, you announced that you were only going to run him once more before the Breeders' Cup. And I remember going on the air saying to the audience, but it's 20 weeks between the Shoemaker and the Breeders' Cup. Talk about that strategy.
This year I kind of learned we've had him for about 3 years now, but we found that he runs his best races fresh. I mean, probably the first race he ran for us this year, the American, was ultra impressive. And he did that fresh, and we trained him on the turf all the way into that race, and kind of just trained him lightly up to the Shoemaker, and did the same thing, ran another huge race. And in years past, we'd always tried to get a one prep into him about a month before the Breeders' Cup, and this horse, he runs so hard and gives you everything he's got. It takes the bunch out of him. So this year we're gonna just kind of stick to our guns and give it a shot and have him as fresh as possible and ready to run his best race.
Now, his prep for the Breeders' Cup Mile came in the August 24th Del Mar Mile, and obviously is number one in here. Phil, I thought he would be very, very tough in here. He did break a bit slowly, but he ended up running fourth. What happened?
It was like everything led up to the perfect storm in that race. There'd been some issues with the Del Mar turf course in weeks prior to that race. So what they had been doing for the last 2 weeks leading up to that race, they had been aerating the turf course heavily, and overnight they'd been soaking it with water, and they had not been cutting the grass. So they'd been doing this for 2 weeks, and the turf course was just a bog. I mean, it was literally a bog. Nobody won even on or close to the lead in that 2 week time frame. So between having a closered, biased turf course and breaking slow, and I think we kind of estimated he went like 20, breaking slow, he probably went about 22:44 and change that first half, and those two things combined just led to a less than obviously kind of performance. So, but I think we got him right where we want him, and I think he's going to run a huge race for us on Breeders' Cup Day.
All right, how's he been doing since this disappointment in the Del Mar Mile? How's he been training?
As good as he ever has. I mean, he is literally wants to bust through the webbings fresh, and he's going to breeze for me shortly in the next 2 hours. He's going to go 3/4 on the turf with Talamo up, but he's training exactly like he had been going into the Shoemaker.
Now, got a couple of other horses to talk about for the Breeders' Cup. I was thinking that you were going to have Bright Thought for the Breeders' Cup turf, but it's not going to be him. It's going to be Big John B. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you know, Bright Thought, he's always had foot issues over the years, and I think that's kind of stopped him in years past. So just feet-wise, I'm really not satisfied with how they look. He's got a quarter crack, and I'm just going to give him all the time in the world to get over that and maybe shoot for Del Mar with him. But Big John B, he already stamped his ticket down at Del Mar when he won the Del Mar handicap, and I just really throw out his last race. He ran a mile and a quarter, and that actually opening weekend at Santa Anita was extremely turf was speed biased, and that helped my other horse. That helped Bright Thought. But Big John B, I mean, he ran the last 3/16, made a big move, and he was just getting warmed up, and it was only a mile and a quarter. I think a mile and a half is going to hit him right between the eyes, and he's just trained super. That last race was really like a workout. So if you want a good dark horse there, and you know he likes this turf course, he's won on it before, I think he deserves a shot in the Breeders' Cup Turf.
And for the turf sprint, you will have Little Bit of Fun, who was most recently third in the Eddie D down the hill. Tell us a little bit about Little Bit of Fun.
He was a nice claim we made, former stake horse. We gave him plenty of time when we claimed him, I think about a year and a half ago. And he won 3 races for us in a row. He won down the hill twice, and he won a stake race at Del Mar. And after that stake race, he'd gotten sick on me for a little while. So I kind of lost time training him, and I was kind of rushed to get him to the Eddie D, and he ran a good race. He broke a little slow, made a big move, but since then he's really come out of the race great. I think you're going to see it. The old Little Bit of Fun. I really believe he's got 5-6 lengths of improvement in him going into the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, and he's going to need that to compete with the best. But he merits a shot.
Phil, with the turf course at Santa Anita down the hill at 6.5, so unusual. Every year that they've run the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint at Santa Anita, it's been won by a horse who's had experience over the course. How important do you think that is?
Oh, I think it's very important because even though you're going down the hill, right out of the gate they're making a right-hand turn. Then they're dipping in and making a left-hand turn, and then you dip out again and make another little kind of almost like a slight right-hand turn, and then you're going into the top of the stretch and you're making a left again, and you're crossing the dirt, and it's very unique, and it definitely plays in my view to horses that have run over it. And my horse, he's won down the hill twice, and he ran third last time. So I just think all those little things are going to give him an advantage over the shippers.
Well, Phil, all congratulations on all the successes. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch, and all the best in the Breeders' Cup with Obviously and Big John B and Little Bit of Fun, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again very soon.
Thank you so much, Mark. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Phil. Phil D'Amato, ladies and gentlemen. And we are up to our final break. When we return, Dr. Jim McGlinn of Bloodlines Racing will join us here in studio. As we go to the break, a couple of stakes for 2-year-old filly turfers. The Surfer Girl from Santa Anita, the Jessamine from Keeneland. In the Surfer Girl, Her Eminency, number 5, was the 11-10 favorite, making her grass debut. In the Jessamine, Fila Primera, number 3, was the 9-5 choice for Chad Brown, coming off a maiden win. So we'll take a look at both the Surfer Girl and the Jessamine to the break. Back with Dr. Jim McGlinn right after these messages.
Goes in, gates closed. And away they go. Sea Mona and Devil's Beauty hop away fast along the inside. Heart of Paradise goes up to join them. Also Her Eminency pretty keen to go on. On the outside, Elementar, and here's Achiever's Legacy. 4 of them in a line. They go quick early on. Just in behind that comes Bobby Grace, who's tucked in right behind the leaders. Then we come back to Call to Congrats in the red cap. Got to be giving them 5-length start. Heart of Paradise races just in front of her. Behind that comes Into Oblivion. They've been followed by She's a Piranha, 8 lengths off the leaders. She's Complete has taken back second last, and Foolish Ways the trailer. They run to the half-mile pole, and Devil's Beauty along the inside is the leader. Elementar keeps the pressure on second. Now travelling well is Her Eminency, going nicely down at the rail. Her Eminency just 1.5 lengths off the leaders. Alongside Sea Mona. On the far side, Achiever's Legacy's in there as well. Just behind that comes Heart of Paradise. Bobby Grace alongside of her. Here is She's Complete in the white colours. 5 off the leaders. Just need somewhere to go now. Call to Congrats is up alongside of her, and then back to Into Oblivion. They are coming to the top of the lane now, and Devil's Beauty comes under pressure. They're all coming to tackle now. Devil's Beauty tough, tries to hold on. Her Eminency has a break at the rail, and Her Eminency bursting through on the inside. On the outside, here's She's Complete coming with a nice run. But Her Eminency, that electrifying turn of bursters, carried her to a very, very impressive win. Her Eminency and Joe Talamo stylish today. She's Complete ran a big one second. Bobby Grace was third.
And they're off in the J.P. Morgan Chase Jessamine Stakes. Quality Rocks away in good order, but there goes Cool Comfort. Very quick in the opening strides for Rafael Hernandez. Cool Comfort determined to go on early here. It quickly opens up on a 4-length lead, 5 lengths to the good already at the entry into the first turn, as Quality Rocks is content to back away here in the early stages into the second position. Late Spring goes third. Magnificent Margot fourth toward the inside. Fila Primera just off her flank in fifth toward the outside. True to You is in sixth. Walking the Kitten is seventh. And Reina de Batteria is eighth and last. 22 and 2/5 seconds for that opening quarter. And Cool Comfort just continues to run along on the lead with a 7-length margin up the backstretch. Quality Rocks biding time in the second position by 3 lengths. Late Spring third between horses, a half length. Fila Primera fourth on her outside. Magnificent Margot drops back 1 spot against the rail in fifth. True to You draws alongside her from sixth. Walking the Kitten is in seventh position. Reina de Batteria, who does her best running late, is still eighth and last, nearly 10 lengths off the lead into the far turn. That first half mile, 46 and 4/5 seconds. And Quality Rocks now catching up to pace setter Cool Comfort. 2 lengths separate the top two. Fila Primera and Late Spring move as a team to the far outside, third and fourth, with Late Spring now taking third. Fila Primera is in fourth position. Reina de Batteria still last off the turn. Quarter mile to come. Cool Comfort the leader by a length. Quality Rocks is second. Walking the Kitten comes up the rail in third, but needs more running room from there. Reina de Batteria is winding up on the far outside from fourth. Final furlong of the J.P. Morgan Chase Jessamine. Reina de Batteria coming after Quality Rocks. Reina de Batteria last on the backstretch, last at the quarter pole, wins the feature for Joel Rosario. Quality Rocks was second. Fila Primera third, close for fourth.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Looking for a racing partnership with proven success? Bloodlines Racing is for you. Using genetic profiling, Bloodlines horses are bred from some of the most successful thoroughbreds in the world. Horses like Distorted Beauty and Invading Humor have won 6 of their last 7 races over the summer, and together have delivered to our partners more than $366,000 in earnings. For our latest offerings and opportunities, visit us at bloodlinesracing.com. Bloodlines Racing. Racing quality.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTV.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTV.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Cassano. Her Eminency from Mike Stidham and Joe Talamo rides the rails to a 2 3/4 length victory in the Surfer Girl, while Reina de Bateria for Graham Motion and Joel Rosario comes from last to win the Jessamine. Our final guest this morning is the managing partner of Bloodlines Racing, one of our sponsors, who is really on a roll. We welcome back to Down the Stretch Dr. Jim McGlinn. Jim, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much,
Nice
Mark.
to have you.
It's good to be here.
Maybe you could tell the audience a little more specifically what I mean when I said Bloodlines Racing has been on a roll of late.
We have been. We have just 2 horses in our partnerships, both advertised here. Invading Humor, a 4-year-old, and Distorted Beauty, a 3-year-old. And the 2 of them have won 8 of their last 9 races, and no claiming races, and 1 stakes race. And they're both headed to $200,000 stakes races coming up in the next 10 days.
Boy, that has been a sensational run. You know, several years ago when we had Jim as a sponsor, we talked about both Invading Humor and Distorted Beauty. Between them, 10 for 18. With this stakes win by Invading Humor here in the John Hettinger, she is number 10. She is pressing the pace, second on the outside. Jim, talk about this performance and how did it feel to win a stakes in New York?
Oh, it's a great feeling, of course. And in this race, where she's fighting for the lead, then the favorite goes by her, and she comes back and wins by a length, it's an incredible performance. And the jockey, Rajiv Marai, after the race, he was actually pumped up. And he came back and just exclaimed, "What a horse!" And then he said, we could have gone around another time and they would have never passed her. So he really liked the horse.
You know, her career began rather inauspiciously on dirt, but when you switched her to the proper surface, it was a different story.
Yeah, she just took off. And ever since, she's been tremendous. I mean, she's won 4 in a row, including the Hettinger, and she's going to continue winning.
Her next start will be next Saturday's Ticonderoga?
Ticonderoga. And she'll be one of the favorites in that. And we hope obviously we hope she wins it. But even just being in the stakes race and the fun that you have and being there with the partners, it's just a tremendous feeling.
Bruce Levine trains both of the fillies. Boy, she's really come to hand.
Yeah, she really has. He's done a great job, although he trains both, and we've won 8 out of 9, but there is room for improvement.
I think you're being a little hard on Bruce at this point. Her full sister is Distorted Beauty. She has now won 4 of her last 5, including this one this summer at Saratoga. As we pick it up, she is number 5, 4th on the outside. How big a thrill was it to win at, you know, the greatest race meet in America?
Yeah, it is always great to win at Saratoga. We won 3 out of 4 this year at Saratoga. But this one was on Travers Day, so there's 40,000 people. And they're yelling and screaming down the stretch as usual. And then when you have your horse come across, it is such a great feeling. And one of the things that made this particularly good was about a dozen of our partners live in the Albany to Saratoga area.
That's great.
So they're there with their family and friends. And just having all those people multiplies the fun. Look at that beautiful horse.
Well, yeah, boy, she does look beautiful crossing the finish line in front,
does.
yes. And, you know, Jim, the thing that I'm thrilled with is that we presented the audience a couple of years ago with these 2 offerings, and they have not only done exceptionally well, but, as you mentioned, you've got about a dozen Capital District residents as partners, and that's exciting for us here on the show.
Yeah, well, that's good. And it's great when, particularly, we can race at Saratoga, because it's easy to get to. Their family and friends can come, and And, you know, it's nice to win the money. It's great to win the money, but the amount of fun that you have is just indescribable.
And Distorted Beauty will go next in Monday's Pebbles.
In the Pebbles. That'll be an interesting race. At the moment, there's 11 horses in the race, and 6 of them are from Europe. So it'll be interesting to see how this comes out.
Now, unlike her full sister, Distorted Beauty, you wouldn't mind if that race came off the grass.
Yeah, she can run on the dirt. On the dirt, yes. She trains great on the dirt. She ran once in the mud on the 4th of July, actually, at Belmont, and she won that race. So we don't mind if it comes off. I think we prefer if it's on the turf, but we're going to run either way.
Both Distorted Beauty and Invading Humor are by Invasor and out of Your Damn Very Funny. Your current offering is a yearling filly by Freud out of Very Funny, making her a half-sister to both of your outstanding runners. Why did you go to Freud when you've had so much success with Invasor?
Well, Freud is a much better sire than Invasor. He's been, Freud is probably in the last 10 years been the top sire in New York. And when you look at the book of mares that he's bred to and the tremendous success he's had, he's really one of the elite sires in the United States as far as that's concerned. And, you know, Invasor was a tremendous racehorse, but he hasn't been that good as a stallion overall. And
except for you guys.
Except for us guys, yes. Yes, I mean, Very Funny, you know, her first 2 babies are these 2 mares, 2 fillies that are racing, and the offering we have is her 3rd baby.
That's an amazing start for her as a broodmare.
Yeah,
it really is.
Start, yes.
I don't know if you realize that it's supposed to be more difficult than this. I mean, this is really quite something.
This is not how it goes.
Now, let's talk about the current offering, because for you dozen local residents who got involved with either Invading Humor or Distorted Beauty, we are thrilled for you. Now, you've got the yearling half-sister. Let's talk about how much it costs to invest. What kind of numbers are we looking at?
Okay, my program is a one-time payment program. So you pay once, and you never come up with another dollar regardless of what happens. So the way we have it is it's $2,800 for each % of ownership.
Okay.
And you don't have to worry about vet bills, training bills, nothing.
It's a one-time.
It's a one-time buy-in, and you don't never pay again, and you get to share in the profits at the same %.
Well, let's let the audience know how they can reach you if they're interested in getting involved in this yearling filly who's a half to both Invading Humor and Distorted Beauty. Here's the information for you. And Jim, this number, 802-436-2159. That's the way they can reach you and get more information from you.
They can call that number, or they can email through the website. Either way works.
How's the yearling filly look?
She's good. She reminds me more of Distorted Beauty than Invading Humor physically. And she's also bossy like Distorted Beauty was.
That's wonderful.
Very bossy.
That's wonderful. Well, first of all congratulations on the successes with these fillies.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's been fun watching them compete and win and win and win again. I'm sure it's been fun for you. And again, we are thrilled for all of you local residents that got involved. And we will watch for Distorted Beauty on Monday in the Pebbles, and Invading Humor next Saturday in the Ticonderoga.
Ticonderoga, yes.
Okay. Jim, thanks for stopping in this morning. And again, all congratulations.
Thanks for having me again.
Dr. Jim McGlinn, ladies and gentlemen. All right, time to wrap things up. Time to thank all the folks who helped get this week's show on the air here at the studios at the Clubhouse Racebook in Albany, our associate producer, Julie Hoxie, as well as Mick Richards. Back in the control room, Pat Peretta directed. Thanks to our guests, Dr. Jim McGlinn and Phil D'Amato. And thanks to our sponsors, Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership. And put down on your calendar, Thursday night, October 30th, their Breeders' Cup seminar at the pub. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com. and by Bloodlines Racing, racing quality runners like Invading Humor and Distorted Beauty. And if you are interested in their latest offering, the yearling filly, the half-sister to both of them, call Dr. Jim McGlinn at 802-436-2159. Also want to thank Dan Hayes, who handled audio this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. Enjoy this fall weekend. Have a wonderful upcoming week. And from all of us here at Down the Stretch, we'll see you next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.